Hello and welcome. My name is Scott Suskovic. I'm pastor at Christ Lutheran Church, and welcome to this podcast that we call Deeper Dive, in which we take a look at the previous Sunday's sermon and go at a deeper level for a great conversation. We're glad you're here. Hey there, welcome again to our podcast. We are on a deeper dive with this podcast, almost wrapping up this sermon series called Always at War.
Yeah, we got one more to do.
Yep. Pastor Scott here, joined with...
Hey, I'm Pastor Ryan, and we are going to deeper dive into interpersonal.
Right. Going from the macro, we're getting down to the micro now. Individual, and we talked on Sunday about are you a confessor or are you a forgiver? That is, I had people pause for a moment and really picture in their mind that person with whom they've got a fractured relationship. And I really do believe I was talking to 95% of the people out there.
But not the 3-year-olds. I love that.
Not the 3 and unders. They have no clue.
Unless they have siblings. Oh, man, I think that's the first thing we learn.
Yeah, say you're sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And you brought that up, right?
Yeah.
That's not a sorry. That's not a real apology. That's not what that looks like.
No.
And why don't we make our kids do that?
So, a good Lutheran sermon should have at least one point. And we are in the ministry of reconciliation. So do it quickly and you go first.
Yeah, I love that. And the reason I love it is because I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I always preach to myself.
Yeah, you go first. No, you go first.
You go first, and then I'll go, I promise.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So we began with the whole confession thing and about learning how to admit you were wrong and to own it and then ask for that apology. One of the inspiration was Matthew 18, where it says, if you're going up to the altar, that is, if you're going up for communion and you've got an issue with a brother, well, leave and go resolve that first.
Which was ridiculous at the time that you would stop the order of service, right? This is, a priest, and this is what he's doing. He's sacrificing the animal that you brought here. This whole moment is happening that somebody would leave. It'd be like you or I in the middle of a sermon stopping.
Hold that thought.
And leaving to go find whoever it is that we have a
Right.
problem. I got to talk to my neighbor real quick. I'll be right back.
Now, you remember in your seminary training or in worship class about the sharing of the peace, which, for the unchurched person, it's kind of an awkward time in church. Hello,
Yeah.
Good morning. How's the weather? How you doing?
Yeah. Oh,
That was not it. And it wasn't, of course, at the very beginning of the service where we put it. You remember where it was?
Well, it was right at the end of the regular service, right before communion.
Right.
Yeah, and those ancient Christians would shepherd out all of those acolytes was the term, right? An acolyte is somebody who is looking into Christianity but isn't actually a Christian yet. And so all those acolytes would leave, they would shut the doors, and as those acolytes were leaving, all the Christians started kissing.
Which is the sharing of the peace.
Right, that's how you would have shared peace with somebody, right?
I don't think it was necking.
No,
It was,
they weren't making out.
No, it was just, it was an embrace. It was a kiss on the cheek. It was whatever else.
But what
here.
it was a connection. It was saying we have a relationship,
Right.
And it's good.
And it's that reconciliation. Even if I've got an issue with you, let me embrace, let me have that kiss, let me have a handshake, and to be able to reconcile before entering into communion.
You know that it actually reminds me of marriage, right? One of the beautiful things about marriage is that in a marriage, you're forced to reconcile, right? The marriage actually creates a scenario in which you kind of have to live with this person.
Right.
So let's reconcile. We can get through this. And the marriage helps us get through that. And that's what that sharing of the peace reminds me of. Hey, we're in this church together. We're going to get through this.
Right. And so it is in that confession. But, of course, it is two ways that there is in that forgiveness as well. And I did talk a little bit about the person who confesses has to give up something. They have to give up their pride.
Right?
They have to give up that they were wrong, and it puts you in a vulnerable position. But the person who has to forgive, they have to give up something too.
Right. If I'm going to forgive you, I have to give up my self-righteousness.
Right.
I have the high ground. I'm right. You're wrong. It feels good up here.
I'm good.
Yeah.
You're bad.
Let's leave it that way. And so if I have to give that up,
That's hard to do.
yeah.
And beyond just that, there is this insidious delight to hold on to a grudge,
Oh,
to
yeah.
hold on to that anger. It actually kind of, in an awful way, feels kind of good because it gives me power over that person.
It does give me power. It gives me narrative, and then I can garner sympathy from other people. I'm an Ohioan. We all know that there's a guy in Michigan who shot an Ohioan and started a war before the Civil War, and everybody knows that the Michiganders are Wolverines because of that. They're just little rabid Wolverines.
Still hurts, doesn't it?
Yeah, I had nothing to do with it. No, but okay, so we're joking, but that feels good.
It does.
And why should I give that up, right? And your average person, I'm going to say, doesn't want to and probably
Right.
won't.
Right.
That's what makes what Jesus says so amazing, that you're to forgive somebody.
As we have been forgiven.
Oh, man, is then to say that in the same way that that person wronged me and I am in the right, I wrong God
Ooh,
and he's in the right.
yeah. If we didn't have to have all that music in worship,
All that music.
I could actually have expounded on a point that I wanted to, but I couldn't fit it. Is this? I hope that the person didn't walk away from that sermon thinking, I must forgive and welcome that person fully into my life again.
Oh, yeah, let's
Now,
get
for
into
most
this.
people,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it means.
Right.
A family member, a friend, whatever else. I'm going to forgive, and we're going to be in relationship again.
Right, and that usually makes the relationship stronger, right? Because we've gone through some stuff. We know that we are going to get through
Right.
the next stuff. But go on. There's a deeper point that you have here.
Well, there is such a thing as about healthy boundaries. And I think it's always helpful to take a look at like a worst case scenario, because then we can kind of extrapolate from there. So worst case scenario, you're a woman who was abused by your uncle. The uncle has no remorse. The uncle is a cad of a person. But so that you can move on with your life, you've got to get this bile out of your heart. And so you have forgiven that person. You might even say to that person, what you did was wrong, and I forgive you. But that doesn't mean they have to come to your birthday party.
Right.
That doesn't mean that they're going to babysit your children.
No, absolutely not.
You can forgive and still have healthy boundaries with a person.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're going there, because sometimes it can feel like, well, if I've forgiven them, then that means they have to be like everyone else.
Right.
And no, that's not at all what Jesus is saying, and that is not ideal. In fact, that could be bad.
Right.
It could be used against you for being a Christian, and now somebody's taking advantage of you again. And that's not what Jesus said. Be as wise as serpents, right?
Yeah. And innocent.
And innocent as doves. That's
Sure.
right.
There was one other aspect to it I just want to explore kind of briefly. I quoted Paul saying we're in the ministry of reconciliation. Got it. As Christians, we don't have a choice about that. We are in the ministry. And I used a personal example that was, quite a while ago, but it's still kind of, when I think about it, it still tears me apart. I was in the wrong. I said something that was flippant and unkind, and I didn't mean to be malicious, but it came across that way. And but even though I went to that person many times, they just put up the Heisman and kind of kept me away. There's that great phrase from Romans 12, insofar as it depends on you, live peaceably with one another. I think you said this during our worship planning session, that your counsel to individuals is that you can't dictate, you can't command, you can't expect how other people will react. That's something that you can't control. But insofar as it depends on you, you be that person of reconciliation. However it is received or not depends certainly on the other person, but also in a sense, God bringing forth the healing in God's time.
Well, isn't that right? When we stand in front of our Lord, and all of us will, you'll be able to know that in that moment you did all that you could.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more to be said, right? I think that's the perfect place to find yourself, that you were authentic to the end. Okay, it would have been nice if the
Would have been nice.
relationship had been reciprocated and mended, right? But we live in a sinful and a broken world. So as much as it depends on me or you,
Yeah.
you did your part.
And here's the part that we landed at the end. It's about the heart. If we're waiting for the heart to tell us to go ahead and confess and tell them that you made a mistake, the heart is always going to be whispering lies to us.
Oh,
It wasn't that bad. Look what he did first.
yeah.
I was just in response to it. It's no big deal, whatever. The heart will try to convince you that to hold back the confession. Likewise, the heart will try to convince the forgiver to don't forgive.
Yeah.
They weren't sincere enough. They didn't come to me soon enough. I remember there was one time I was speaking to a woman from the church. Again, this was probably 15 years ago now, and my cell phone died.
Okay.
The battery went dead,
Happens. Okay.
and I forgot. I forgot about the conversation. Forgot to follow up. It was in the middle of a conversation. She was upset about something, and it was probably a year later that we had to talk about something else. And I mentioned something about, I haven't really seen you in about a year. She says, "You don't remember, do you?"
Oh,
I said, "What? We were having that conversation and your phone died?"
oh no, she held a grudge.
I said, "Wow, that must have been a year ago." She said, "Over a year." And then she said, "No one can hold a grudge longer than me."
Oh, that's not a point of pride.
She took it as a little bit of pride. Yeah. So if you're waiting for the heart, you're always going to be waiting. So I think the biblical one is you go first, because Jesus went first. It forces us to swallow our pride,
Yeah.
whether we're a confessor or forgiver, swallow our pride and go first.
You know what the best part about that is, the thing about Jesus is he's always working on multiple levels.
He's always right.
Yeah, right. And so here's the thing. If I apologize to you when I don't think I need to apologize, let's imagine that I was right, that didn't need an apology. Then what have I done? Nothing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I've told you how much our relationship means to me, that I might humiliate myself, right? Humble myself.
Yeah.
And so then you get to see, without asking for it, really how much I care about you.
Yeah.
There's no way that asking for forgiveness can go wrong. In fact, I would love to think of a scenario, and the only ones I can think of are sinful ones, right? Where, again, somebody takes advantage of somebody, right? But barring some malicious actor,
Right.
I can't imagine how it could go wrong. It's always a good step.
It's always a good step. It breaks down those walls and those barriers, hopefully to the point that the person responds, but you never know.
Well, you don't. And so far as it depends on us,
Right.
we'll do our part.
So this coming Sunday, we're going to wrap up this sermon series down to the microest of levels.
Yeah.
No longer peace among nations, peace between groups, no longer peace between individuals, but that peace inside that I think people desperately desire, but is missing a lot of people.
Oh, I know we do. The whole world is built on
Angst.
Yeah, the wanting, the hollowness, the emptiness, the needing, right? Whether that's the air that I breathe every other second, the food, the sleep,
Yep.
the physical relationship, all of this stuff is built on what I'm lacking.
Boy, it even goes back to the book of Ecclesiastes, right? Vanities of vanities.
All of it.
And even Solomon, in all of his glory, with all of his riches, with all of his everything, he still thought, wow, I don't have anything.
Yeah.
There was an emptiness.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a look at that piece on Sunday and see how we can resolve that.
Yeah, that'll be great. We'll get into that, and that'll end our sermon series for
Good
this
deal.
time. Yeah, Always at War, coming to a wrap.
Come and join us here, last of it, and then we're launching into a new month here pretty quick.
Oh, yeah, and the musicians have taken over.
You'll hear more about that later on. Thanks for joining us for this podcast.